name is Vaishali Nayak. I work as Head of Software Engineering in Digital Technology. As a child, I always loved maths and problem solving, so technology was a natural choice for me. So I feel pleased to be a part of an industry that makes all the innovative ideas a reality. I started at Sky in 2011 as a software engineer. After a few years as a software engineer, I moved into management roles. I've done 7 different roles at Sky, software engineer, technical analyst, delivery manager, and currently as a head of software engineering. So it has been a really rewarding journey, working for different areas within Sky, like content platforms, global OTT, and more recently in digital technology. So I think what I've learned at Sky is there's lots of opportunities. You just have to go and seize it. I lead teams in digital service. Our ambition is to make awesome digital customer experience, and my teams play a huge role in that. While Sky is dynamic and fast-paced, it's also very collaborative and inclusive. It's fun working at Sky. There's always new ideas, new opportunities that you can try out. Personally, from a career progression perspective, I've been able to try out many different roles and grow as an engineer, grow as a person, and I'm constantly learning all the time. Sky's vision is creating an awesome digital experience for our customers, and I'm really excited to be a part of that vision. My teams will work on this ambition and make it a reality. Sky's value of believing in better is something we always strive every day. I'm the chair of the Tech Women Committee at Sky. Our aim is to build a supportive community for women in technology, product and data, and other areas of Sky. We have a group of passionate women and male allies who help us build a supportive community and create initiatives to attract, progress, and retain female talent. I think we have a long way in getting women into technology. We have just started in this journey, and technology is also not the first choice for young girls, so there's a lot to do in that area as well. So in Tech Women, we focus on inspiring the next generation. So we recently had our Women in Engineering Day, and the theme that we chose was inspiring the next generation. So we had schoolgirls coming in, giving them an experience of what does it mean to work in technology, and giving them a real idea of what it means to work in technology. Technology doesn't always mean coding. There are many other different roles in technology. So there's many different opportunities and avenues that women can actually try out. So there's nothing to be scared of, and also showing that there are so many women already working here, and we are really thriving and supporting each other in getting more talent into technology.
Good morning. What an honour it is to be here today to talk to you about what I think is probably the most important strand of Sky's plan for the next 24 months. Let me introduce myself and probably make it clear why I'm just a little bit biased. So my name's Amber Pine, and I'm the Managing Director of Broadband and Connectivity here at Sky. That means that it's my responsibility to make sure our broadband products and services grow and successful over the years to come. I look after the propositions, the packaging, the pricing, the commercial and the marketing, ultimately making sure we have commercial success. I think all of you will agree, though, that connectivity is vitally important to our lives today. Whether you're at home, at work, or on the go, there's no doubt that you need to feel connected. I guarantee that pretty much everyone in this room has already had a little scroll through their emails or sneaky peek in their social media between sessions today. We want to feel connected all the time. So it's never been more important to make sure we've got some brilliant broadband and connectivity plans for our customers. I'm really excited to take you through those plans today and also introduce you to some of my colleagues who can give you a little bit of insight around what really happens behind the scenes here at Sky to make that change and magic happen. So, it absolutely feels like we are on the precipice of something really quite exciting in connectivity. What we are finding is that broadband has never been more important to consumers' lives. We found that pre-COVID, there was about a 30% increase in data year on year from 2019. That is just increasing every year. We thought after COVID, perhaps it would drop back down again, but we have absolutely not found that to be the case. When we talk to our customers, 90% of people tell us that broadband is absolutely essential to their lives. Second only, really, to council tax, food, and of course their housing, their mortgages. People are not willing to do without broadband. The broadband market is large. 26.5 million homes in the UK have access to fixed broadband in their homes. Customers are loyal to their broadband providers. We have more people in contract than ever before, but it's still quite active. We see about 4 million people a year switching their broadband provider, looking for a better deal, looking for a better value, looking for a better product. And what's really exciting for consumers is that there's never been a better time to be thinking about your broadband. We have some really exciting new innovation landing, both in terms of access speed to the home, so that's how much speed you get into the home, but also making sure you can get brilliant broadband connection around your home, and that's Wi-Fi. We're finding that these prices for these products, previously in the past, new innovation would be quite expensive, but actually we're seeing it become much more affordable to the average consumer, which is just great news, particularly when we're leading into such a big social-economic downturn next year. The market is competitive. It's not just Sky who's noticed that connectivity is pretty interesting. The rest of the market has too. But that's even better for consumers. That means there's more innovation and more exciting products and services to look forward to. So let me talk to you a little bit about our plan for better connectivity. Customers need to make sure that we are offering them innovation end to end. It's not enough anymore just to think about brilliant fast speeds as your point of difference. We also need to make sure we're offering brilliant Wi-Fi and brilliant service in the home. The challenge is really there for internet services providers to make sure we're offering customers the best experience in their home. So we've got 4 pillars to our plan, and I'll quickly take you through each of these. We need to make sure that we're on the front foot, offering customers the best full fibre access to their home. That's really important because it gives customers access to really fast speeds with really good reliability. Previously, when we used to talk about fibre, we were actually talking about fibre to the cabinet. Probably quite a lot of people in this room know this, but just to make sure we've all got the same understanding. Fibre to the cabinet would really depend on how far away you were from the cabinet, what sort of speeds, what sort of reliability you could expect to access. Now, for the next 10 years, we're going to see more and more fibre to the premise rolls out. That means that customers are going to be able to really plug in access to those faster speeds and better reliable service. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. The exciting part of full fibre means that customers can now access more speeds, up to 1 gigabit of speed into their home. So we need to make sure, as a broadband provider, we are offering access to all the speeds, from the lower, more value entry speeds all the way to the top speeds. And as speeds become ubiquitous, as speeds become something that everyone's going to be able to access across the UK, we're going to see a real change in the battleground, as consumers are really also asking for better Wi-Fi in their home. So yes, they're getting that speed to their home, but they want to make sure they can access it all around the home. And that's why we're seeing more and more conversation around Wi-Fi and how do I optimise my Wi-Fi in the home. Service has always been an incredibly important USP, unique selling point for Sky. We passionately believe we need to make sure we offer customers the best experience. And we're working really hard behind the scenes to make sure that we can make a difference in customers' lives, putting them in control of their broadband in the home and making sure they can have the best possible service. So let's go into this in a little bit more detail. So full fibre, so I talked to you a little about that. That is very much the next generation fibre technology. And what we are seeing is an absolute race across the UK, across network owners, to make sure we can offer consumers across the UK full fibre by 2030. We expect 90% of homes to be offering full fibre across a range of network providers in 2030, and that is just brilliant news for customers. As I said, that will mean that they can get better speeds, more reliable service. But as a broadband provider, that also means we know our customers will stay with us for longer. They're not going to want to be switching if they've got brilliant speeds and brilliant service. They're much more likely to stay. There are other global countries where we've been having a good look at what's been going on in FTTP, and we've seen exactly that. Customers are staying more loyal, staying with their internet providers for longer. So it's an absolute win-win for consumers and also for the broadband providers. Okay, more speed choice. So we have launched 2 new speeds this year. Innovation is absolutely at the heart of what we do, and we wanted to make sure we were offering speeds to every single person who is looking for broadband in the market. So what you see is we now offer speeds from superfast broadband, our 35 meg entry-level product, all the way up to gigafast broadband at £55. What we tend to find is that there is not actually a huge number of people who currently have appetite for the gigafast product, but it's so important for customers to know that their internet service provider offers it for them. They want to know that if in the future they want to have that faster speed, perhaps they've got a new baby on the way, or they're going to start working from home a little bit more, they want to make sure they've chosen someone who could offer them that in the future. And similarly, we find people at the lower end of the market who are going for the £25 value product. They think they want that cheaper price point, but actually as they start discovering about broadband, we actually find they move up the speeds and actually end up sitting in an ultra-fast or ultra-fast plus product. So it's important to offer a complete portfolio of speeds for our customers to make sure whatever life stage or needs they have, that we can offer them the speed that they want. Better Wi-Fi. So as I mentioned, in a world where speed becomes ubiquitous and customers across the UK will be able to access up to a gigafast or indeed faster speeds in the future, we need to make sure that we're also giving them the speeds around the home that they want. We found that there was an increasing number of Wi-Fi products and services being offered, but they were always coming at a premium. And we felt it was really important, particularly this summer, particularly next year, to make sure that every customer can get access to Wi-Fi that they can trust and find reliable. So this summer we launched a market first with our wall-to-wall Wi-Fi as standard promise. And I'm going to show you the ad that we launched this summer in a few moments. But in the future, there's no doubt there's going to be more and more premium products, premium services that are all about optimizing your connectivity in the home. Sky won't be alone in that. We expect lots of innovation to come in that space. But what's exciting for Sky and exciting for us and our tech credentials is it's very reliant on the hardware that you put in the home to bolster your speed around the home. And that's something that we're brilliant at. So we're really excited to see that innovation come. And finally, it's transforming service. Something that I think everybody at Works at Sky has always been incredibly passionate about, and it's something that we know our customers really value that we offer over and above others. We make sure that whatever we do really puts customers first. That's all the way from the install, where you're going to be seeing more and more Sky engineers being the ones to install your broadband, but all the way through to in life. So using our app, using our connected companion app to make sure that you have total peace of mind. And one of my colleagues is going to talk to you a little bit more about the innovation that we've done in this space. So finally, I'm just going to play you that wall-to-wall Wi-Fi ad. Can't take a girl out of marketing. I couldn't possibly do a presentation without an ad. So here we go. Maybe.
Don't settle for patchy Wi-Fi. Sky Broadband guarantees Wi-Fi that covers the whole home or money back.
Don't think there's anything quite like a cheeky minion trying to explain some rather tech innovation there. So look, I'm delighted now to introduce some of my colleagues to the stage who will take you, as I said, behind the scenes and give you a bit of a sneak peek around how we make change happen. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Lucy Thomas, who's our Group Chief Data Officer for Sky, a role she's held since 2020, having served as Chief Data Officer for the UK. Lucy is responsible for leading the group's data strategy, delivering value for Sky by unlocking the power of data. And before this, Lucy was Managing Director of Customer Growth for Sky UK, responsible for customer sales and retention across Sky's portfolio of TV, broadband and mobile. Lucy has over 22 years' experience at Sky, joining us as a new qualified accountant in 2000. Second, Andy Kidd. Andy is Head of Product at Sky, responsible for the technology, innovation and product roadmap. In this role, he's a key driver of Sky's initiatives in connecting living and the smart home. Andy has worked in B2C and B2B sectors for 26 years. His experience spans R&D through to product delivery and business strategy. Andy joined Sky in 2013. And finally, Damon Pegg. Damon is Director of Group Comms Strategy and Architecture at Sky, a position he's held since August 2021. Damon has nearly 18 years' experience of working as a senior network strategist and architect at Sky, and led on the original Sky broadband architecture in 2006. Prior to Sky, Damon worked in engineering roles for various leading telecommunications providers. Please come to the stage. Wherever you like. Brilliant. So Lucy, what's the link between connectivity and improving customer experience? And what's the big data opportunity that Sky has leveraging?
So, hi everyone, and thanks for coming. There's a lot of energy in the room, which is really, really great. Here at Sky, we're really thinking about how we use the sort of reams and reams of data to really improve how customers consume our service, be it on the app, on the UI. It's really important that we personalise that service as much as possible for them, using the data that we have to make it really, really personal to them. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do here with respect to data, in particular around service. So when we think about data here, it's not just about making it accessible and making it easy to find for our people, but also for our customers. So there's a lot of talk about sort of big data and what it actually means. But really, the data you have is only as useful as you make it for your customers or for your business. So you can write a sort of theoretical data strategy, but actually the real value lies in when you make it available to business users and also customers. So here at Sky, one of our most exciting use cases has been what we call Service Checker. And this is something that is incorporated into now the My Sky app. We actually went live with it last week, which is really, really exciting. And what we've done here is we've taken all of the sort of different data sources, data that we find in the product, from the broadband router, from ultimately from the Q box, from Sky Glass, and we've brought it together, we've mixed it with customer data, and then what it's enabled us to do is really show customers what's happening to the broadband service in the home. It's visually very, very simple and very, very straightforward, so you can see, what's happening. We've used very, very simple language. Your Sky Glass looks good. Your Wi-Fi looks good. Your Sky Broadband, again, is looking good. It's in line with what Amber has promised you, right? So this reassurance is almost as important as assurance. So what we're finding is, in the same way as you can see where your car is when you use the Uber app. What we think customers want and what we know customers want is reassurance, not just assurance. So this Service Checker really, really takes the effort away from you as a customer. It's there for you to see how your Wi-Fi and how your broadband is performing in the home for you. And almost as important, the same UI is there for our advisors. So if you do want to call us, then we can see in the call center exactly what you can see in your home. And this is a truly digital first proposition that takes all of that data, all of that richness, and isn't just leaving it hidden somewhere, it's exposing it for our customers and for our advisors, so they can then either troubleshoot using what journeys we've got built into the app. And ultimately what we want to be able to do is actually start to use some of the the data science to help us predict when customers are going to have problems. So actually we'll be able to start to heal things and fix things before customers notice. So the benefits for this are really, we think, huge. And what we know is that we are providing a lot of reassurance. Customers can check their Sky service whenever they want, wherever they are. No need to call us anymore. It means that there's a simple, clear view of multiple data sources. So this is something I've learned over the last couple of years, how important it is to visualize the data in a way that is easy to consume. I'm often saying to my team, it needs to be something that my mum can use, right? Something that is intuitive, easy to use, because we need to take the complexity away and make it very, very simple. And then the other thing, of course, is it's a friction buster. It saves time for our customers, it saves time for our advisors, and it also means that we don't sort of waste time sending the wrong thing to customers. So in the past, we might have sent them a router when actually it isn't the router that's the problem. We might have sent them, you know, an engineer to their home, and actually that isn't the problem. So we're taking sort of that inefficiency and that friction out of the system, which is good for customers, because they want their service fixed. They want it working without any of those interventions. But it's also good for Sky, right? Because we're actually taking, ultimately, you know, cost out of the P&L. So the service went live a couple of weeks ago, and we're really pleased with how it's going. We're softly seeing, you know, customers going in and checking and getting that reassurance. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and obviously now we've built this sort of foundational product, we can continue to iterate and continue to evolve. So from our point of view, big data is all about unlocking new value through better connectivity, creating closer connections with our customers and across the business.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lucy. Andy, you're our expert on the smart home and what's often referred to as the Internet of Things, IoT, devices which are connected to the internet and increasingly each other. And they're doing smart things all around the home all of the time. How is the connected home evolving? There's a question.
Thank you. And I'm going to put one slide up. Now, just a warning, I only have one slide. So you're going to have to put up with my voice for a bunch of this, but hopefully you'll take away a few ideas that we think about in our area of the business around smart homes and connected living. So if there's one thing I'd like you to take away, 3 C's: command, control, and context. Because I think that's the best way to answer your question, to look at how connected devices are improving in this context of command and control and context. And they're definitely evolving, but not all at the same rate. Our homes aren't yet truly smart. That might be a very bold, neither am I, quite clearly. They're not truly smart, but they are connected, and that is a good thing. But if they were truly smart, they'd be able to do the type of things that we could ask a child to do. Now, in a session like this, we're going to talk a bit about data. So I thought the best way of breaking down this question is to break it down into the type of queries and the type of data we might need for a smart device to respond to something we'd like to do. So the first one's really easy. It's a turn the lights off in the kitchen. You can ask a child to do that. You could ask your smart assistant to do that. Alexa, turn the lights off in the kitchen. You're kind of covered. That's a command type challenge. It's a semantic problem in the, in the technical jargon. I'm going to try and keep that under control. And that's because AI can understand the intent of what we're trying to do. Let's make it a touch harder. If I said, start the washing machine after this movie finishes. It's starting to get a bit tricky, right? A smart assistant probably can understand the intent, so it's not a command challenge, but actually it's a control challenge, because you might not have all of the inputs, you might not have all of the triggers, you might not have all of the control capability around your home to deliver on that intent. Let's go a little bit further. So we've done control, we've done command. How about context? I could turn to my youngest and say, turn the lights off in your sister's room. She's smart enough to do that. I would hope so at 15, but she could do that. But if you try and do that with your smart assistant, things start to become unstuck. And that is because your smart assistants have really no idea about the context of your home. And maybe we don't want them to, because that's a question about trust and how much data do we want to give up to an intelligent agent to do something for us. Now, there are ways of cutting through that, but let me go through those 3 lenses: command, control, context. So I'm going to start with control. We're connecting devices at a rate of knots. It's been on the hype cycle for forever. Last year, the size of the smart home market was measured at about $80 billion US. It's expected to grow to about 180, depending on who you ask, over the next 6 years or so, by 2028. That's across home thermostats, lighting, audio speakers, security cameras, TVs, locks, appliances, all of these devices controlled from an app or a smart device. Interestingly, for the example earlier, almost a third of washing machines sold in the first half of this year in Europe had some kind of smart control capability, via voice, via an app, 29%. But it's also on the control side, it's about inputs, it's about triggers, and there's a new horizon. On the horizon, there's a new generation of triggers and devices and sensing technologies that's going to move our smart homes forwards. Technologies that can help detect presence or maybe detect orientation of devices. Technologies like Wi-Fi motion and LoRaWAN and ultra-wideband and ultrasonic presence detectors. Huge range of new technologies that's going to allow us to take back control. And I'll use that in a very different context. So on the control side, we're evolving well. On the command side, there has been a lot of growth over the last decade. A decade ago, we're starting to see the first smart assistants arrive on our phones, things like Siri, Hey Google. A couple of years later, the first smart speakers came about with the Echo devices and Alexa, etc. Since then, we've seen the smart assistant diversify into wearables, into smart displays. In the last year, smart assistants have arrived on television sets and even home robots. So when we think of a smart assistant, it now needs to be a much broader picture. But that command piece, the intent, if you like, the understanding that we expect out of our smart assistants, that's evolving too. And it starts with details like being able to use machine learning to filter out background noise and the output of the TV itself, so that you can detect wake words like hello sky. But perhaps a really good example of how AI and natural language understanding has evolved is in the one slide that I've brought to today. And Amber, you kind of triggered this saying, oh, for your session, have a home with a question mark on it.
I didn't think you were actually going to do it, but you did.
I'd like to say that I did it, but I didn't. I'm not as capable of this. This was an AI artist called DALL-E that will be able to create images just based on textual prompts. And I put in the words a spectrum-colored smart home behind a question mark. And it came up with 9 designs. I picked a bunch of them. Great job, certainly a better job than I can do. So on that third leg, context, this is the thornier one. This is the one about customer trust. How has, we call it ontology, all right? So how has that been progressing? Can customers trust technology companies in this space? Last month, Amazon bought iRobot. They're the company behind Roomba. One of the first concerns was Amazon's going to be able to detect the extremities of my house and map out exactly what my life is like. And fundamentally, customers have a legitimate concern about creepy tech, all right, that we go too far. But the flip side, and one of the reasons why I'm excited to be a technologist at Sky, is that we start from a different place. We have an ongoing subscription relationship with our customers, and it changes the way that we approach how we treat their data. We've got to earn and retain their trust from a month-to-month basis rather than just a one-off purchase. And so when we look at it, I think that we're in quite an interesting place. So there are ways that you can, if you like, infer intent, infer context. You might have seen this starting to happen on your smart devices. You can look to see how command and control has happened in, against a pattern. Maybe every day or at a particular frequency, you do particular things with your smart assistant, and now it says, oh, would you like me to make a rule for that? Amazon calls it hunches. And it's an interesting area of inferring intent, of inferring context. Another way of cutting through it would be to do more at the edge and do more processing and more intelligent stuff in customers' homes. That could be running machine learning on device. There's some technologies around TinyML that does that. But one of the reasons why that's potentially interesting is that because the data stays locally, it doesn't head up to the cloud. And so, if you like, privacy is baked in. Could be an interesting approach. And another benefit of taking that kind of approach is that because you're doing the machine learning locally, it can help save on bandwidth, it can help save on connectivity costs, as well as saving power, reducing latency, all pointing to more sustainable business models. Now, I'm going to close and wrap up by highlighting why I think it's worth striving for and delivering truly smart homes. Because if our homes were truly smart, they would be amazing. You know, they'd be able to do the kind of smart things that our kids do. But imagine if you set the context for your home and said, look, this is my budget for outgoings. I need you, my smart home, to help me hit this monetary target so that I can stay on top of my energy bills. Really useful context in a cost of living crisis. Maybe it could help on other yearly outgoings that you have to control and look after your home. Watch this space, there's some interesting things coming along the horizon. If our homes were truly smart, then maybe as we all get older, it happens to all of us, I hear, that we could stay in the homes that we're familiar with for far longer. The area is called aging in place, but if our homes were truly smart, then we could stay in the familiar whilst reassuring all of our loved ones, including my older mum, that I'm okay, or I can be reassured that she's okay. And then if our homes were truly smart, maybe the center of the home, the biggest screen in the house, could help us engage better with the activities that we love, with the people that we love. Maybe it's about video calling or even watching content together. Maybe it's around interacting with a personal trainer or developing new communities around games and around the content that we love to engage with. So in answer to your question, how is a smart home evolving? Very well in terms of command and control. Still getting there with regards to context, but I'm really excited about the future.
Brilliant, thank you. That was fascinating. Okay, Damon, waiting patiently there. Thank you so much. Okay, you're the person who's got a plan for all this growing demand for network capacity. Just heard a lot of examples of how we could use that in the home. You've seen a lot of change during your time as a network strategist and architecture. Give us a feel of the enormity of that change and what your crystal ball will predict for the future.
Okay, thank you. So just picking up from Andy's point, the issue with teenagers is generally not the ability to follow the instructions, but the will.
Yes.
I know that one.
So I like to keep things simple. Building networks can be a complicated business, there's no question. Especially when we think about security of the network, we think about a lot of complexity in terms of how we manage the network. The systems that are around the network, as I call it, plumbing, the pipes between A and B. So I constantly come back to this, what I call Holy Trinity, which is the capacity question. We need to think about capacity. We always have to build the network bigger. As Amber said before, we've seen roughly 30% growth in recent years. And I'll put that in a historical context. We've never seen lower than 20 or 25% growth year over year. And that range is typically between 30 and 50%. So we always have to build the network bigger. Generally, we have to move from one generation of technology to the next generation of technology in around a 5-year time frame. So Resilience of the network, I'll talk a little bit about the resilience of the network. The network in 2006, when we launched Sky Broadband, didn't have to support the same use cases that it supports in 2022, and that it will support in 2030. And then I'll talk a little bit about performance. I also come back to the concept of performance. So it's not enough that I build the network in such a way that it's working when there is a failure. Working should also be somewhat binary. When it's working well. If I'm doing my job well, and you have a fast connection to the home, and you have well-functioning Wi-Fi, you should never think about what is happening further into the network. And that's why I also take these concepts together and call them the utility mentality. I think we're at the moment more keenly aware than ever of how we take for granted what happens when we turn on the light switch or when we open the faucet for the water. So if I'm doing my job well, you guys shouldn't have to think about the network. The network should be. The network should work, and it should work well. So just talking a little bit more about the first of those, the scale of the internet, the scale of the challenge that we have to manage. A lot of my time historically is taken up with that long-term planning. If we have to refresh the entire network every 5 years, then I'm constantly planning what are the requirements, what are the uses of the network in 5 years' time, and how big does the network have to be? What is my design horizon? So if I look a little bit at the history since the launch of Sky Broadband in terms of the amount of data that we consume, a key metric that we use for planning the network further in, planning our connectivity from the customer to the rest of the internet, is what we call the household peak average traffic. So you may have a connection at 35 meg or 100 meg, or you may have a connection at 900 meg. But we look at, on average, how much users are together consuming the service at peak hour. And if we look back at 2006, the launch of Sky Broadband, people were using the internet for buying books and for watching cat videos, right? The resolution of those cat videos wasn't necessarily that much lower, but even if 10 million people watched that video, at any one point in time, it was thousands of people or tens of thousands of people, not tens of millions or hundreds of millions. 40 kilobits per household in 2006. 2014, we had the World Cup in Brazil. Now HD is standard, but still second screen and a moderate level of concurrency. But we reached 1 megabit per household. Today, in 2022, where we have a saturation of HD and UHD VOD on primary screens, we're at 4 megabits. And when we project forward to 2030, we believe that we'll be at 40 megabits per second, where the standard for the house is more than one UHD stream at peak, along with all of the other things that our digital economy relies on, all of the other applications that the consumer wants. So if today our internet is 100 terabits at peak, in 2030, the internet that we have to build in the UK is a petabit. This is a big number. And this is the challenge that I'm building for today. And then finally, just to talk very briefly about the investment that we're making and actually what do I do concretely in terms of building that network. So one of the big investments that we've made in the last few years is around what we call in networks the Noah's Ark resilience model. So in other words, in 2006, there were failure cases that would take down a number of customers. We can't be living in that world in 2022 where we have single points of failure that will cause problems for many thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of customers. So we've invested heavily in fixing for failures so that the network doesn't miss a beat when a component fails. Further into the network, we also have that mentality, but it's not a simple 1+1 resilience model. And so actually, the core network, the transport network, the high-speed links between the major cities in the UK, that's typically only utilised 10% on a daily basis because of the overbuild that we make, the investment that we make, so that we cater for all the failure scenarios without customers seeing any issues. And then last but not least, it's not just about throwing capacity into the network. It's not just about spending. We're using data in terms of understanding things like localized demand. So do we see a football derby that will generate a requirement that is greater in Merseyside or in Manchester? And that's where we need to invest. We can't just look at the network in a completely homogenous way across the whole country. And also from an operational point of view, clearly we need to look at the data, we need to understand what's happening in the network and build the tooling, build the automated tooling for reacting when we see issues with the network. So this is the performance element that comes on top of the investment that we make in resilience.
Brilliant, thank you so much. So we're going to open up to a few questions. I hope you all found it as fascinating as I did to hear a bit behind the scenes around how we really use technology to make the customer connected experience in the home great. But let's go a bit deeper. I think we've got a few minutes. 1 minute, one question. One question. We've got one question. Okay. I'm going to use one from the room. Yes, I'm going to use one from the room. This is where technology is in action. Here we go. Let's have a look. Okay. For probably Damon, I think, is there a natural upper limit to fixed broadband speeds? We've just launched our GigaFast product at Sky, which should give 900 meg average. What do you think the upper limit might be?
It depends whether you talk about customer connectivity, if you talk about a core network. In reality, I mean, we're always dependent in building the network on technology that hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
So often we have to take a bet, right? This thing that needs to be there in 5 years' time, it will be there. And the reality is that when the demand is there, the investment gets made and generally the industry delivers. So I think that, there's no reason why you can't have today a 100 gigabit or a 400 gigabit connection for an individual home, but there's a cost. So the economics will be driven by the customer demand and the development in those technologies. There are a different set of challenges in the core network, but again, they're things that we trust that the investment is there to deliver on the technology that needs still to be invented.
So it's more demand and supply in this context.
Exactly.
We'll flip it around. Okay, lovely. Well, I think we will close today. I'm sure lots of tummies are growling for lunch. So thank you for your time and energy.